All right, what's up, everybody? We're back. Welcome to the next episode in this series, The Hidden World. Finally settled on a name. If you watched the first video, thank you very much for that. We just kind of did an overview and a brief, beginning on the whole legend of the hidden world, the fairy folk, and all of that good stuff, and everything that entails it. So it definitely gives you. I know it's not quite the most exciting story or exciting start for a video, but it does give you a very, very good idea of what we're going to be listening to and the kind of stories we're going to dive into. So feel free to listen to that. Again, if you are listening to my videos at all, thank you first and foremost, because again, I'm brand new to this. If you've seen my other channel, Last Wave Games, I'm used to doing it on, while I'm playing something, but sitting here just talking in front of a picture is completely different and completely new to me. So I appreciate your support. Throw a like on the video if you can. Again, I'm just doing this for fun. I don't expect YouTube to end up paying me for this. So I'm just kind of doing it for fun. So again, I appreciate it and thank you for watching. All right, so this episode of The Hidden People, we're going to get into elves. Elves, again, super pop culture right now over the last decade or so with Lord of the Rings and all kinds of series and movies and books and video games and all that good stuff is super popular for elves right now, okay? But elves go way, way, way back, and we're going to get into that with this episode. So we'll just jump right into what I've got, okay? One thing again that has always interested me about the hidden world or the hidden people, the Fae, as they're called, is they're said to live in nature, not only in nature but in rocks, inside the trees, and inside the mountains. In places like Iceland, for example, these hidden people are known by a more popular term, elves. Icelandic elves are Alfar. Legends go back a long way. Before the 11th century, when the Christianization of Iceland began, especially, there were much more stories. There are mention of elves in old writings, including the Norse Poetic Eddas, which I mentioned in the first video, which is, again, some of the earliest, story-esque type kind of writing. So there's again these elves or Alfar or this type of entity has been around for thousands of years. While some people clearly believe in these old tales, some say they were used to scare children into not leaving villages and other human populated areas. So okay, I understand that. However, I would be much more afraid as like some little village child if my parents told me there were bloodthirsty wolves and hungry bears than I would be if they told me there was magical, mischievous elves and trolls. But I wasn't alive then, maybe. Obviously, the elves were tied into stories of you know the origin of the Norse people, and their gods and things of that nature as well. So, but again, uh, I can't understand why you would use that. I mean, I guess you have Santa Claus and things like that nowadays, the Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy. So it can work. But honestly, if you're living back then and all you have is a village and what's outside the village is basically forest and dark, scary wooded areas, I'm definitely going to lean towards telling my child there's hungry wolves out there than I am there's fairies and elves. So, times are different. Times have changed. And again, with Santa Claus and stuff, maybe they haven't changed that much. But that's just me. While the belief has waned over the centuries, some modern day traditions and incidents still occur. It is normal to see elf bonfires and small home rituals near certain holidays in Iceland still. As far as modern incidents, one thing that popped up a couple of times over the years, including in 2013, is the halting of road or other types of construction due to people being either afraid to enter certain areas, not wanting to destroy certain areas, and things of that nature. This is one thing the modern news has really caught my eye because you would have a group of people go to a construction company and ask them to divert around an entire mountain just to leave the hidden people that lived in the mountain unharmed. And that's this. We're not talking, horse and buggies. We're talking about people going, in the last 5 or 6 years, going to construction companies and be like, "Hey, please don't blow a hole in that mountain. That's where the hidden people. That's where the elves live, and we don't want to disturb them, or it will bring great downfall and torment to us." So, excuse me. we don't want to disturb them. So I thought that was super interesting that that type of thing is happening in basically modern times. Years back in 1971, there were times where construction equipment was shutting down, and basically every time they would get a new piece of equipment on a site, it would shut down, not work. It's happened multiple times, and the story basically goes that the construction workers blamed everything on the elves, and they basically stopped the entire construction because nothing could work. So that's also an interesting story. Excuse me, I had to take a sip of drink. That story actually ran in a local newspaper, so it's not just hearsay. It's not just someone's grandpa telling them what happened on a construction site. I mean, these stories are making newspapers and news outlets, so that's kind of a big deal to me. In 1982, and this is in Iceland where these things are happening, a group of believers went to a NATO base to accuse them and to look for elven sites that they may have disturbed during construction. So these people are believing enough to walk up to a NATO base, with soldiers, and make sure that they didn't disturb, the nature, the place that these elves live. So that takes a lot. Like, you just don't walk up, to a whole army base and be like, "Hey guys, gonna need you to cut what you're doing because we just want you to." No, I mean, these people really have to believe that these entities, these elves, these Alfar, are really truly living in the trees and in the rocks all around them. So it is more prevalent in today's world than in the last 100 years, I would surmise, with the rise of movies like Lord of the Rings and others, plus the re-rise of nature-driven pagan religions. Belief in the elves and hidden people is actually rising now than it has probably in the last 100 years. Like I said, there's actually numerous articles right now stating that Asatru, I may not be announcing Asatru, may not be announcing that right. Basically, paganism, Old Norse type paganism, is quickly becoming the main religion in Iceland, and those articles were released like this year. I mean, that's happening right now. So it seems the world of hidden people or elves, while it may be out of sight, is still all around us. And to me, that was just super interesting that even in modern times, and you're talking, these people have known about the elves, known of their existence, believed in their existence from the very beginning of their people's culture, all the way to right now today, re-embracing that culture and accepting that they are still around them, and the people still want to support these entities. And to me, that is absolutely amazing. And it's really, I mean, these people are genuine. You don't just change the whole religion of a country based on, some harebrained scheme or harebrained theory. You change it because of belief. And it really shows that these people are in Iceland, and not just Iceland, but other places around the world that are experiencing a surge in this nature style paganism and old world paganism, are really recounting the old legends and old stories and finding a home within them. And I think that's really the most important thing, is these people are, again, they're recounting these stories. They're going back to the old ways, when things were simpler, before, nothing against Christianization of nations, but before basically the Christians came in and said, "Kill us or follow us." I mean, realistically, pick whatever hairs you want, but that's what happened. It was those two options. Kill, you're gone or you follow us, and that was basically it. And then history's written by the victors. Well, here we are, and some people are finally getting around to the fact that they find more of a home and more happiness in the ways of their ancestors. So that is just a super interesting fact, a super interesting story that I feel is going to grow. People are going to start, opening interfaith churches and things of that nature, and it's just going to be really, really topsy turvy, and a lot of different changes coming in the next couple of years. I really feel like, as far as bringing back the old gods and old styles of religion. So, especially the further we mess up Earth and the oceans. But again, that's a whole nother. I'm gonna have to open up a whole channel for complaints of that nature. So, we won't get into that. But again, just these are just a couple stories on the elves that I dug up, and just a little bit of history in the background of how far and how long ago these stories have traveled and these stories have grown. So again, this is something I really interested in me, something I really wanted to share. I guess that's going to be it for this episode. And again, once I get more of the feel for this, I will make the episodes longer. But I think right now, around the 10-minute mark is good. I don't. I'm not good for talking much more than 10 or 15 minutes at this point. That's what I've been used to in the 5 years of my gaming channel. So it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. And again, I want to eventually bring more people, bring in interviews and things of that nature as well. So again, thanks for listening on this story about the elves, the hidden people. Super interesting stuff. I'm going to put up some links in the description. I encourage you to go learn more and explore this. I just barely scraped the surface of different stories and legends and all kinds of amazing stuff. I'll probably do other ones just on other elven things and elf stories and where they fall as far as the Norse myths and that kind of thing. So again, thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Your support means a lot. Drop a like on it, and we'll catch you in the next episode.